Hello, True Health Seekers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Today, I have with you a very special guest. Leiann King is coming back to the show, and in fact, she has agreed to come on several times. This will be her second interview with us, but she has so much information to share. Leiann is a certified master herbalist, an internationally certified aromatherapist, iridologist, and she is even going for her raw food certification because she's a big enthusiast there as well. She's actually helped thousands of people heal with the power of essential oils. And what I love is that she has taken the time to create a membership site that's affordable for everyone so that people around the world can gain access to her. She does Q&As and webinars and all the live events, and she does many seminars. She travels around and gives seminars to rooms full of hundreds of people. I had the pleasure a few years ago to attend one of her live lectures, and it was standing room only, and it was amazing. She's amazing with helping people learn how to use essential oils in a healthy way. There's so many ways we can actually use them in an unhealthy way. Because essential oils are very concentrated herbal extracts, we want to use them responsibly. But when used responsibly, we can diminish or completely eliminate pain. We can help to relieve the symptoms of a cold. We can help to detoxify the body, tone the body, support the organs, have more energy, more mental clarity, even improve a healthy sex life, which is what one of the things out of many things we're going to be discussing today. What I wanted to let you know is that I am so passionate about her membership program. I really recommend you check it out. It's only $12 a month, and you gain access to her and all of her archived content and all of her live content. In fact, when she gives live seminars, it costs a few $100s to attend them live, but she streams the entire thing, and by paying her only $12, you gain access to all of them, as well as gaining access to her and asking her questions and receiving her answers in the live Q&As. You can go to learntruehealth.com/oils. That's learntruehealth.com/oils, OILS, oils. The link to that's going to be in the show notes of today's podcast. That'll take you to her membership. Please check it out. And if you have any friends who are into aromatherapy or belong to network marketing companies that sell aromatherapy, you definitely want to share this with them. learntruehealth.com/oils. Because she teaches how to use them safely. I think that's a really, really hot topic, especially for those who belong to network marketing companies that like Young Living, for example, and doTERRA, that sell essential oils. A lot of these people who join and become reps end up hurting themselves and damaging their liver because they're using them in a way that is it's harmful. This is a medicine. We have to remember this isn't some perfume that's fun to smell. This is a very powerful nature medicine, and we need to respect that. And Leiann's here to teach us how to use it and how not to use it, how we can use it on toddlers and babies, how we can use it on seniors. She is incredible at teaching how to eliminate pain and so many other things. So I look forward to you enjoying our episode today and learning more and more from the wonderful Leiann King. Please visit learntruehealth.com/oils. That's learntruehealth.com/oils. Check out her membership. It's only $12 a month. I highly recommend it. I've been a student of hers for a while and just loved it. Thank you so much and enjoy today's episode. Be sure to share it with your friends and family. If you get anything out of today, be sure to spread this so we can help as many people as possible. Thank you so much and have a fantastic rest of your day. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 163. I am so thrilled to bring you today's guest. Leiann King is one of my favorite people in the world when it comes to learning essential oils and learning how to apply them for better health. Leiann is so amazing. We've had her on the show before, and she wants to come back on and continue to share the power and the benefits of essential oils. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really going to dive into some awesome topics. And, essential oils, we could make an entire podcast about essential oils, I'm sure. And so I know that you want to continue to come back and teach. I'm really excited to also talk about your membership program, the Aromatic Living subscription that you created in order to teach the day-to-day person how to apply essential oils for their health and for their family, and how to spread this information in a way that is safe and healthy. Because, like any other form of medicine, we have to remember essential oils are medicine. If we use it incorrectly, we can harm ourselves. And so we want to learn how to use it correctly to gain the healing benefits. And I love that. That is why you created the Aromatic Living subscription. Listeners, you can go to learntruehealth.com/oils to check out that subscription. Now it's only $12 a month.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I love that you provide that service for all of us, and you really pour your heart and soul into it. So much fantastic information. For the listeners who are curious about essential oils or want to learn more, is it good for those who are complete beginners? Is it also good for those who have been using them for years and want to continue their knowledge? Tell us a bit about the Aromatic Living subscription.
I would say the aromatic living is for all of the above. And the reason why I say that is because even those like I used essential oils for probably 15 years before I got into the professional side of aromatherapy and really started taking my education seriously more than just what um, the supplier of my oils was teaching me. And so I think anyone would benefit, from a mom to a professional aromatherapist. I have doctors, nurses, grandmas, aunts. I have a nephew who is 12. He has his own subscription to Aromatic Living. Yes, he does. And because we try to cover a huge gamut of information. And I homeschooled my children for 29 years. I have 9 children. I'm very proud of that fact. And I feel like one of the gifts that God gave me is the ability to take even complicated material and make it so that it is applicable to a variety of people. And so when I homeschooled, I taught all my children at once. I had preschoolers through high schoolers learning the same subject. And I try to do that when I teach aromatherapy or herbs or iridology, whatever it is I'm teaching. I try to make sure that the person who has never even opened a bottle of essential oils goes away from that learning experience and says, wow, yes, I can do that. Clear through a doctor who is feels confident in their chemistry and in what they're doing, and they say, wow, I never knew that about aromatherapy.
Tell us something that we don't know about aromatherapy, that typically people don't know about aromatherapy.
Well, I would say one of the main things that people don't know about aromatherapy is the vast abilities that it has, and especially in the arena of aromatology, which is a branch of aromatherapy. And aromatology is the study of aroma on the brain, specifically the limbic part of the brain. And there is a whole new branch, and this is something I've been really working on a lot the past couple of years, is how you can use an essential oil to trigger different mechanisms in your brain to either call back positive experiences, release negative experiences, or lock in something that you want to have happen, such as using an essential oil to help you accomplish goals, such as things that you might have on a vision board, for example.
I've heard something similar, like choosing an oil to smell while you're studying, and then use that same oil when you are writing the test, and it helps to recall that information. So it's like anchoring that information to that smell.
Yes, I did that exactly when I took my master's. For my master herbalist. First of all, I started out in herbs, and to get my master herbalist degree, we had to go and they had us take all of our finals all at once. So we studied for, 3, 4 years, and then we go and sit for 5 days doing one final after another. And so I used rosemary essential oil when I studied, and I used rosemary essential oil every single day of the exams. And I got 100% on every single final except for chemistry. I only got 84%, and I was a little irked about that. But
84 is still really good.
it is good, I think, for someone who knew absolutely nothing about chemistry. And one of the things that helped me learn chemistry, and this is how I teach chemistry, is I use cooking to teach chemistry. When I'm teaching my students in my school or on any video, I say, okay, we're going to start out with lemon and water. That's going to be your carbon and your hydrogen. And we're going to go from there. We're going to make lemonade. We're going to make lemonade. We're going to make spearmint lemonade. And I just have each of those different things represent different chemical constituents or elements to create our different constituents that are found in essential oils.
Very cool. Now, why did you choose rosemary? I was thinking maybe like lemon, because I think lemon's good for the brain, but why did you choose rosemary?
Rosemary is known to help improve brain function. They've done a lot of studies with it, even with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. And it helps open up pathways in your brain that maybe weren't even there before, that we're not connecting the dots. Lemon is an excellent essential oil for left brain studies, and so it can help you with left brain, and orange oil is excellent for right brain studies. And I did make use of both of those, but I prefer rosemary if I'm wanting to do basic recall and memorization.
Very cool. Now, the thought always comes up is who is this safe for? Like, can infants use it? Can seniors use it? Can those with asthma use it? Can everyone use essential oils?
Everyone can use essential oils if they are using them correctly. And this is my big pet peeve. If I have a soapbox or a mantra, this would be it. And I'll just tell you, I always tell everybody, I have made all the mistakes on my 9 children, so you don't have to do that to yours.
Wonderful. Well, let's just dive into that. What things shouldn't we do with essential oils?
Okay, well, I'll tell you a story of a little boy who is now 8 years old, who, when he was 1 years old, he had a cold. And we had just, looked up colds on the internet or something. My daughter and I, this is my grandson. And my oldest daughter, her and I were together, and we were just we had been using essential oils for a while, but not on the serious level that we are now. But this was something that's moved us to do what we've done right now in this whole educational arena. And that is, we looked at something, it said use peppermint. It did not say anything about diluting it.
Oh my
It didn't say
gosh.
anything about the ages. So he was only about 1. So we just put a couple of drops of peppermint in our hand, and she rubbed it on his chest, and he went into like cardiac arrest. And luckily, his father is at that time was an emergency room nurse and is actually going now to become his PA. He'll have a doctorate, physician's assistant, but a doctorate in it. And he is a user of essential oils in spite of the fact that the hospital that he works at is only about 5 minutes from one of the largest commercial network marketing aromatherapy companies in the world. And I don't like to be negative, but I am just going to state some facts. We almost lost our grandson over this. And whenever this said company has a big convention or whatever, the hospital that he works at, they like quadruple their staff because of the unsafe aromatherapy things that go on there.
I I'm shocked but not surprised at the same time. Um, you know, I was recently seeing something on Facebook as to that over 90% of the sales of essential oils are through network marketing companies. And I mean, I never thought I'd become a fan of network marketing, but when I discovered longevity and I had an amazing like totally transformed my life and my health. I went from having diabetes, not having diabetes. I went from chronic adrenal fatigue to not having chronic adrenal fatigue through this quality supplements. I began to reconsider my thoughts about network marketing. And I've been using like Young Living. I was exposed to Young Living back in like 2005, and I like their products. I kind of feel that through the years, though, my personal experience is that the quality's gone down with them. I've tried doTERRA. I'm not exactly happy with their quality. And again, this is just me and me experimenting on myself. I just didn't feel like it was that quality. I was introduced to essential oils when I was 15 years old. I worked in a spa, but it wasn't like it wasn't the kind of spa that you'd think. It was a holistic spa that had herbs and essential oils and everything was natural. And even though I was the receptionist, my boss handed me a bunch of essential oil books and said, I want you to learn about all of this because as people go to the register, they sent all the essential oil displays right beside you, and they're going to start asking you questions, and I want you to be prepared. And I fell in love. I thought it was all just smelly stuff until I had a really bad stomach bug, and this was in the middle of the summer because this was my summer job when I was 15. And so I called up my boss and I said, I can't come today. And I had a fever and I was throwing up and I was feeling horrible. Well, my boss gave my mom peppermint and lavender. And she said to my mom, you want to put the peppermint in some olive oil because that's the only oil we had in the house as a carrier, and rub lavender and oil on her chest and stomach. And I want you to put 1 drop of peppermint in a big pot of hot water, like you were making tea, and I want her to sip it. And I was nonstop throwing up. My mom did that the second I took that sip, and she rubbed that lavender and diluted, lavender and peppermint on my chest and stomach, and took 1 sip of that peppermint and that big diluted in a lot of hot water. I immediately stopped throwing up. My head hit the pillow. I fell asleep. My fever broke, and when I woke up, I was 100% better. And I went, "Whoa, there's something to this. This is amazing." And I fell in love with essential oils ever since, and I've been using them ever since. And what I can say is I'm really happy about Longevity's quality. I've never experienced an essential oil from Longevity that I wasn't happy with. There's a lot of companies out there, and I think I can smell when, and I can definitely sense when the quality isn't there. And that's just because I've been using them only on myself for so many years. But we're not going to talk about exactly what company is 5 minutes away from your son-in-law's hospital. But that does definitely bring into focus the fact that when used incorrectly, when the training isn't there, and that's what a lot of network marketing companies don't deliver the right amount of training. If they're going to be a supplement company, they need to sit the people down and train them because supplements are medicine, herbs are medicine, and medicine, if used incorrectly, can hurt people. So, how do we use, for example, peppermint for colds in a way that's healthy and not going to make us go into cardiac arrest?
Well, first of all, we're not going to use it on a 2-year-old. And so we're going to start there. No matter how diluted, we're not going to use it on a 2-year-old. And then from there on up, we are going to um, follow a dilution chart. And this is a chart that I have in actually 2 places in my book. I put it in there twice so no one could tell me that they couldn't find it. And it's at the beginning and towards the end of the book. And so children in general and well, let's start with the elderly. The elderly, if you were going to, let's say, make a roller bottle for them because they have headaches or they have, like you said, a cold, and you were going to make a roller bottle and put some peppermint in there, You only put 1 drop of peppermint for 10 mils of carrier oil. And for those of you who don't know what a carrier oil is, it is like how she used the olive oil when she was a teenager, but you can use coconut oil, you can use jojoba, grapeseed, kukui. There's all, even a salt is a carrier, or a cream or lotion is a carrier, even water is a carrier. And so you can, choose your carrier, and then you put that essential oil in it, and it carries the essential oil into your body. And so for, the infant, or not, well, infants would never use peppermint, but for, like, let's say you had an elderly person and you wanted to use peppermint, first you're going to want to make sure that they don't have high blood pressure. So you have to ask these questions. People always just pose these questions to me on Facebook. What do you use for a cold? And I'm just like, well, who has the cold? Let's start there. When you go to the doctor, and I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but when you go to the doctor, you don't just call them anonymously and ask them questions about your baby. At the same time, you might ask them about yourself, and you don't differentiate who you're talking about. They expect to have the person come in and they ask you questions. And so you need to ask these same questions of yourself or of the person that you're trying to help. Do they have high blood pressure? Are they on blood thinners? Are they on any kind of medications? What is their age? What is their overall health? And so with peppermint, we do 1 drop in a 10 ml roller bottle, let's say, of grapeseed oil. And then you just do a quick little wipe of that on the temples or the back of the neck. If it's a headache, you can put some and rub it on the chest. You can put it on the bottom of the feet, which is my favorite place to put essential oils. And it goes on up from there to a 1% dilution, which would be 2 drops. And you could use that for children, for baths, if you're pregnant or you have a compromised immune system, only 2 drops per 10 mils. And general care, just the average person is going to put about 5 drops to a 10 mil. And this goes across the board, not just for peppermint, but any essential oil. And so you want to make sure that you are diluting your essential oils properly, and that you know who is going to be using it, their age, their health, and where are they going to be putting it. And I'll just tell you a funny story about peppermint oil really quick that just came into my mind. My husband had peppermint once, and he had it in his hand because he had a headache, and he was, this was before the whole dilution. This was when we were just educated by, whatever the powers that be are at that time. And so he put a drop of peppermint in his hands. He put it on his temples, on the back of his neck. And then he did not wash his hands before he went to the bathroom. And this gives new meaning to, wow, you're really hot.
Oh, ow, ow.
Which, by the way, significantly, and peppermint is very good for erectile dysfunction. But you want to make sure also that it's diluted properly if you're going to use it for that.
Really? Wow. That is a new one for me. I've never heard that.
Well, it increases blood pressure. And so erectile functioning is all about blood pressure.
Got it. Would that also work for women who have libido problems?
Yes. I mean, I'm an open book. Anyone who talks to me, there's not a subject I won't talk about. And for myself personally, I love, for personal lubricant, I use about probably a 2% dilution rate. So that would be like, we have like a 1 ounce thing of carrier oil on our nightstand. And we have about 6 drops of peppermint oil in there. And it feels fantastic.
Wow.
Now, it's not an aphrodisiac. So if you're not in the mood, well, it could put you in the mood. Your husband leans over and rubs some of that on you. It does get you in the mood, but it's because it's stimulating you there, not because of the mental aspect of an aphrodisiac. Your floral oils usually work better for the emotional side of an aphrodisiac. But peppermint oil, and if you do have high blood pressure issues, you can use spearmint oil instead in your personal lubricant. I saw on the internet the other day, though, someone, this just cracks me up. They suggested clove bud oil
No.
in a personal lubricant. So let's just talk about clove bud oil. First of all, it is a numbing agent. It um, reduces feeling. I'm sorry, I want to feel more, not less, during that time of my life. And it is extremely hot. So, extremely hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know who made up that recipe. Sometimes I swear I look at recipes on Pinterest and elsewhere, and I'm like, did anyone ever really try this? Or were they just, clove bud? Oh, we're not selling a lot of clove bud this month at our network marketing company. So everybody loves sex sales. So throw out a recipe there for a personal lubricant using clove bud oil.
The exact opposite of what you'd want.
But I guess if you're trying to teach abstinence, you could put that on there and hope that all the teenagers read the recipe and try it out.
Too funny. Too funny. My son had he's lactose intolerant, and he got a hold of some lactose, and he was having a horrible time. This is when he was younger than a year old. I just remember him like in the middle of the night, all night long, just screaming in agony, and you could hear the gurgling, and this he was just so gassy. It was so painful, and I knew that dill was great for these kind of colon spasms, right, to help to calm that down. And I have this giant essential oil kit. Thumbing through it at 3 a.m, find the dill. I put a drop on my hand and then squeezed a bunch of cream in my hand because it's the only thing I had. I was just guessing on hoping that I'm diluting it enough because I've got, I'm holding a wailing baby in one hand, and rubbed it on his tummy, and it was like a miracle. It was amazing. I mean, it works to me as fast as homeopathy does when you get homeopathy right. It was just the relaxation that melted over him. I just love dill for anyone who has gas pain, or infants that have gas pain. What do you think about that? Is that a good remedy for colic?
Yeah, dill on my chart. I have essential oil safe for children chart, and we have dill. We don't put it on there until age 7 months, but the chart that I created is for people who don't listen to me and don't ever dilute their essential oils. And so I made sure that on my chart that the essential oils that I have for the age is if they were like my daughter and I all those many years ago, 8 years ago, um, who just they're in the middle of the night trying to help a crying baby like yourself, that that those oils would be safe. And so undiluted, even, and I don't recommend undiluted use, but dill oil is safe starting at age 7 months. But you could, if you're using it at the infant dilution rate, you could use it younger.
Very cool. Now, I've had the privilege of seeing you live in person teach a class, a room full of people. It was like standing room only, and a big class, and everyone was so excited to be there. And that was really my first introduction to you. This was a few years ago. And you had two people come up who were in pain, and you put a drop or two of something on their big toe, and as you're standing there talking and teaching, their pain went away. And I was like, what? No way. On their foot, but their pain is in their back. What's going on? So why is it so miraculous to apply essential oils to the feet, and how could that possibly cause someone's pain to go away?
Well, the first thing I was ever introduced to in natural medicine was foot zoning and foot reflexology. When my oldest children were little, and I was from a military family, and so going to the military hospital is the only thing I knew. And when I married my husband, who is a farmer, we had no medical insurance. So I just, did the over the counter thing. And this older lady moved into our town, and she was the personal foot zoner to the late great Dr. Raymond Christopher, who was the founder of the School of Natural Healing and who I actually got my degree through. And she taught me all about foot zoning and how there's a blueprint to the entire body connected through the nervous system and the circulatory system on the bottom of the feet. And so when you put a drop of essential oil, and where I specifically put that drop is I start out with that drop on the neck of the big toe where your big toe bends, because that is in correspondence where the brain stem and the spinal cord meet. And so I start with that drop there. Then I move up to the top of the big toe and underside. And so I'm covering the whole head, the brain area. And then I go down the arch of the foot all the way down the bottom of the heel. And that corresponds with your spine. And anyone who's ever been to a chiropractor and looked at the posters in their walls knows that the spine and the nervous system from the spinal column leads out to every single organ in the body. So when I apply or someone else applies an essential oil in that area that I just walked you through, you within 30 seconds, and then I have them walk around to get that circulation going. And in that 30 seconds, while they're walking around, that essential oil is surging through their entire body and going exactly where it needs to go. And essential oils work that fast. You saw it in your personal life when you were a teenager, you saw it with your baby that night, and you saw it on stage.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm kind of getting the sense that I mean, mother of 9 children, married to a farmer, didn't have any health insurance. Out of necessity, I mean, obviously you're passionate about natural medicine, but it's kind of out of necessity. You really needed to go back to what works because, for those of us who can pay for health insurance, we a lot of us tend to, not my listeners, but the other people would tend to leave it until someone's sick and then go see a doctor. So not really practicing preventive medicine, but practicing more of the uh, wait till you're sick, allopathic, go get a drug, and then just keep bumping around in life. Whereas you, out of necessity, needed to learn what you could learn to not only handle the colds and the bumps and the bruises, but you could keep your family as healthy as possible, so you didn't need to pay out of pocket, right? Is that why what drew you towards essential oils and herbalism?
Yes, yes, it was, I had no other choice at the very beginning, uh, and God blessed me. I always say that God blessed me with several angels in my life, and Barbara, who was this foot zoner, was one of the first angels that appeared in my life, and and at that time, I frankly did not have the money to even go buy. My husband was, going to school full time, milking cows full time, and how, as I always say, cows do not provide medical insurance. And she came in a time in my life where we had just moved onto this piece of property. We were just living in a mobile home at the time, and there was nothing on this piece of property but weeds. And that was the greatest blessing that ever happened to me, because she would just walk me around my yard and show me all the different weeds and what they were good for. And so that's what I started out with. My pharmacy was my backyard at first for quite a few years. And then later on, I was able to go to the health food store. And then she also took me, I live in the country, so we were able to then branch out to the woods and the mountains around where I live. And it was probably about 5 years later that my husband got a job that he did have medical insurance. And we were actually, frankly, pretty excited about it. And until we started having to pay our portion of it. And like 2 years went by and we didn't even use it. I think I took the kids to the dentist once a year with it or something. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I could just pay cash for the dental appointment and save us thousands of dollars by canceling our medical insurance. And so we did. And we have not had medical insurance since then.
Wow. That's fantastic. And what a testament to when you focus on preventive medicine, focus on herbs and ways to heal the body naturally. It saves us money. This is what drives me up the wall. And another reason why I do the Learn to Health podcast, if all of us would put a stronger emphasis, like as a country, as a globe, put a stronger emphasis on herbal medicine, on preventive medicine, we would save so much money in healthcare. It's not actually healthcare when you're paying insurance, it's disease management. That's sickness management because it's not designed to keep us healthy, right? We need to take responsibility just like you did to keep ourselves and our family healthy. And I'm so happy that God blessed you with those lessons in your life so that you could turn around and be the teacher that you are today. Can you share with us some more things from your Aromatic Living subscription that people are really excited about when they join it? What are they most excited about learning from it?
Well, I would think one of the things they're most excited is the huge variety that we provide. So I'm not only an aromatherapist, like I said, a master herbalist. I'm an iridologist. I was trained by a Native American traditional teacher for over 6 years. We immersed our lives into our culture when I discovered that I was, in fact, Cherokee, and our family kept that a secret for all these years. And I found a local woman in my town, another angel that appeared. You got to understand, I live in a town of like 200 people, and God just keeps sending these people. He forces them to move to this little tiny town. And they're like, I don't know why I moved here. And I'm like, I do. And then I'm an iridologist as well. And so what we have done in aromatic living is, and then I'm also training to be a raw food chef. I'm already a certified raw food instructor and just finishing up my raw food coach. And a lot of people think, well, do you eat sushi all the time? Well, I actually do love sushi, but it's not about eating raw fish. It is about increasing the plant-based nutrition in your life, whether that means I would like to see you at least eat one vegetable a day because right now you're not eating any, to going full-blown sprouting your own sprouts, making your own wheatgrass, and all of that jazz. And so what I've done here in Aromatic Living is I teach using essential oils in all areas of your life. So every Monday morning, I do a live Q&A and I answer questions for people. And then on Wednesday, I do a webinar on a different topic. And I weave aromatherapy in everything. So I teach about using herbs and essential oils together. And I call that dynamic blending because essential oils pull out the energetics of the herbs and vice versa in a way that is unbelievable. And then I teach using essential oils in your favorite food recipe, whether it be cooked or raw, and teaching how you can choose an essential oil simply by the color of your eye. So when I teach iridology, it is not like, oh my gosh, I have to memorize the entire human body on the iris and it's so tiny. And so the way I teach iridology, you can learn so much just by knowing the color of your eye. And we have a huge archive. That's one big thing is we already have a huge archive of podcasts, blog posts, and tons of video footage of me teaching. One of the things that is one of the biggest perks, I would say, of aromatic living is that I do travel all over the world teaching live classes, and those classes cost anywhere from $75 to $150. for a 1 to 3 day workshop. And we record all of those. And then they are put into the archives of Aromatic Living. So for $12, you can watch all the $75, $150 classes you want. And if you're like, I didn't get what she just said, you can just rewind me and listen to me say it again. And so you can get all the Leiann King fixes you want, at Aromatic Living. And it's not a Leiann King fix. It is a health fix. It is a passion fix of your health and how you can. And it's not just your health, your emotional health. When we integrate um, essential oils in, for example, the medicine wheel. Or the other thing that I am is a personal development junkie. And one of the things I got so frustrated with, oh my gosh, is you go to all of these seminars, right? And you're so hyped up and you're super excited. And you take all these notes and you buy all these self-help books and you go buy all of these self-help audios and you do it all. And then a week later, your life hasn't changed. And that was getting very frustrating to me. And one day I was actually soaking in the bathtub, laying there bawling and feeling sorry for myself because I'm like, I can change my health. Why can't I make my bed every morning? What the heck is wrong with me? And why can't I get things off of my vision board that I want to get done? And this voice came into my mind and said, I can't believe you haven't figured it out yet, Leiann. You use rosemary to pass your exams at 100%. Why don't you see that you can use essential oils to accomplish your goals? Because every essential oil triggers positive emotions, positive character traits. And so use these essential oils to accomplish your goals, to lock in that vision board goal, to motivate you to make your bed, to motivate you to get your butt outside and go for a walk or run. And this this information also to me is over the top. And so when we changed the name to Aromatic Living. It used to be called Real Life with Leiann, and I guess it still is. You could say that's a tagline. It is about my real life, but it's about how everything in our life can be improved through aromatics, whether it is the aromatics of essential oils, herbs, the foods that you eat, or using them to have the sweet smell of success.
I love it. So what essential oil do we need to use to make our bed?
I personally use Earth Scent, the blend Earth Scent from Longevity. My husband created that blend actually originally to help with focus for our autistic grandsons. And but we found that it does so much more. And one thing that I find for me, when I get up in the morning, I get up and I just sort of sit there and think about all the stuff I have to get done. And so then you go into overwhelm, or you just sort of wander around aimlessly without any focus. Of course, you have those other eager beaver morning people, but they don't make their bed because they are so action orientated that they are just going to hit the floor running and go 100 miles an hour and then go into adrenal fatigue. And so I recommend, for if you're not a morning person, you use Earth Scent so that you can have some focus and get grounded. And then if you are an overachieving, eager beaver person who never takes time for themselves, I recommend Heaven Scent so that you stop at least for 5 seconds. You probably don't need to have someone tell you to make your bed. You probably pull your sheets off every day and wash them and put new clean sheets on and fluff the pillows and air out your room. Okay, but you need to just slow down for 5 minutes and maybe meditate and breathe. See, those of us who don't make our bed, we're just automatically meditating, just sitting there on the edge of the bed, but not really meditating. We're just like, in zombie land.
Oh man, I have a feeling Earth Scent's going to be at the my bedside from now on.
You gotta make a roller bottle. So, I have this whole program that I put together. I do 2 women's retreats a year. I do one called the Be You Now retreat, and that's where I debuted my program. I call it Create a Perfect Day. And then, I do a Native American retreat, which is more down to earth camping, though we do have some ladies that stay at hotels and just drive over to the campground. And that's more of a down to earth kind of program where we actually pick and distill essential oils. And you don't have to be into the Native American culture. You just have to be wanting to finding out what's behind that bottle, that it's not just a little tiny bottle, that there are plants that have dedicated their lives or sacrificed their lives even for you on a very high physical and spiritual level to improve your life and to just learn some appreciation for that.
I was so surprised to when I watched one of your videos where you were working with the distiller out in the mountains, and you guys had taken about 75 gallons of, I think it was juniper, sage, and pine, and stuffed them into the giant barrel to distill only about 4 ounces of essential oil. It's just amazing how much has to go into the to make only a few bottles.
Exactly. And one of the things that you need to ask yourself, I love Ricky. He's the man that we did that demonstration with. He actually was our guest speaker at our most recent Women's Native American retreat, and he brought his distiller out to the campground, hauled it all the way out there, and the ladies filled the barrel up themselves, and they watched as the water slowly came through and dripped one little tiny drop at a time during an 8-hour period. And we ended up with, I believe, only an ounce during that 8-hour period. And the appreciation, and I love how he is so respectful to the plants. And I think your listeners are probably, knowledgeable in energetics, and that the intention of the person who is harvesting
Mm-hmm.
your material, and their respect or lack of respect. For example, I'll just give you another example. My son has a friend, he's in his 30s, and he works for a very, very, very large essential oils company, one of the largest in the world. And his job is to drive the machinery that goes and rips the cedar trees from the mountains, just goes through, and they just get permission to strip through whole vast areas like a lumber company would, and just rips all the trees out of the ground, and then they go through a big giant chipper before they get distilled. And these are, people who have no respect for the plants as a general rule. There might be some that are there that have a respect, but they're there for a job, right? And they're operating the heavy machinery. And then you compare that to Ricky, who he waits until maybe there's been a storm of some kind, and it knocked off some of the branches off the trees. And he wanders around and picks up the branches that have broken off. Or he sees where maybe there's some trees that are crowded together. And if he trimmed, pruned, it's sort of like the person who has a beautiful organic orchard, and they go through and they prune the trees so that they can be the best that they can be. And so that's how he harvests and distills his essential oils versus the big heavy machinery and the chipper and ripping out the trees from the roots to never be able to be productive again.
That's like, knowing that your medicine's coming from raping the land. I mean, that is not in alignment with
And I don't care how organic you call that label. I don't care. There's intention and energy has to be involved here too.
and one of my friends is a tree guy. He owns a tree company, and he says that You can safely trim 1/3 of the branches of a tree, and the tree will, anything more than 1/3, the tree would might die, but you can safely trim 1/3 of the tree's branches, and it'll keep on going. And like you said, in certain situations where they're crowding, it actually makes the tree stronger to do so. That kind of artesian wild crafting of the herbs to make essential oils obviously takes longer. That's why essential oils, one of the reasons why essential oils are can be very expensive. But I would rather know that we were able to keep all those trees intact, um, and know that ethically, we're not raping the land. We're not causing destruction of the land in order for me to have a few drops of an essential oil.
Exactly. And when you teach proper dilution, that bottle of essential oil becomes a stock bottle. I sort of teach, I call my version of aromatherapy homeopathic aromatherapy. I used to use homeopaths a lot on my children when they were younger before I got into essential oils. And so when I teach a person to make a dilution, I have them pound it on the palm of their hand, their bottle 100 times, and it sort of becomes a homeopathic version of that essential oil. And so when you buy essential oils and you use them properly, your bottle, you can use essential oils on an everyday, a lot of different, a variety of essential oils, a lot every single day, quite a lot, and not have to worry about damaging your liver when you do it the way that I teach it.
Interesting. So if you use essential oils incorrectly, you can damage your liver. Can you speak to that a bit?
Oh, yeah. Essential oils are chemicals. Whether they're natural or not, they are chemicals. That's what they are made out of, is chemicals. And your liver's job is to break down chemicals. That's why when people use too much aspirin or have too many over the counter or even prescription meds, it causes damage to their liver. And essential oils are no different, especially if you are under the false assumption and that you should take 10 or 20 drops, stick them in a capsule, and swallow it on a regular, everyday basis. When I was teaching out in, I think it was North Dakota, there was a MD that came to my class, and she basically came to my class to chew me out. She saw a poster and she came to chew me out. And she listened to me teach, and she came up to me during the lunch break and she told me why she was there. Her intention was to publicly denounce aromatherapy to all of the people and educate them to the dangers of it, because in her medical practice she had all of these blood work done, and she had all these different clients who were pretty healthy, and they would just come in for regular yearly exams. And she had quite a few people after two large essential oil companies came into her community, and there was like oil parties everywhere constantly, and everyone was making capsules and putting 10 drops in their water every day and doing all of this. And she didn't think anything of it really. She was just like, well, at least they're thinking about their health, until they started coming in for their yearly checkups and she had blood work done. And she said all their liver numbers were horrible, absolutely horrible. And she absolutely attributed it to their essential oil usage. And but after she heard me speak the first half of the day, she told me this story, and I asked her if she would speak after the lunch break was over, and I turned a couple of hours over to her, and she told story after story after story of different people in her practice who were fairly healthy, just minor, they got a cold, they'd come in or whatever, and who had serious liver issues after. And she would interview them. How much essential oils do you use every day? How do you use them? And she was documenting all of this. And so then she stood up and said, Leiann King is the first person and the only person as of right now that I will ever endorse for aromatherapy education and aromatherapy usage because of how she teaches it. Because I believe that the liver will be able to um, assimilate the small dosage that she teaches to use. And because I do not teach internal usage except for in food preparation or in very individual circumstances. No one should take essential oils internally, according to the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy, which I'm a professional member of, or the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, which I am the Utah State representative of. You should not take essential oils internally unless you have been interviewed, had a full aromatherapy consultation with a certified clinical aromatherapist. And what we have is internal usage galore all over Pinterest and people destroying their livers because of it. And my daughter, who husband is the one that works at that hospital, they lived, like I said, about 10 minutes away from this large um, essential oil processing area. And she has good friends who used to work there, and they would help pick the plants and they would put them in the distillers and distill the essential oils. And they have serious health problems because, if one drop's good, 20 drops is better. And as an employee, they could, sort of dip into the vat and take all they wanted. And one woman completely, she's on the liver transplant list just from an oil that you would consider very mild, lavender, and from overusage of it.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so guilty of that. If one drop's good, 10 drops is better mentality in my life in so many aspects. Like I love kelp or seaweed. And so I'd go to town, eat an entire bowl of kelp or seaweed salad. And of course my body went, oh, I can't digest this all. I'll do that. I'll be like, this is so delicious. This is so healthy. I'm sure if I eat more of it, it'll be even healthier. Not the case, not the case, especially with essential oils. Considering that 75 gallons of juniper, sage, and pine went into making about 4 ounces, if we're taking in 10 drops, I mean, how much of that plant, if we were to sit there and try to like not eat that plant, but if we were trying to take that in a different form, like tea, we would not be using that much, right? And we have to remember that essential oils is a form of herbal medicine. um, when I was working in that spa, there was a esthetician who had many years before had a cocaine addiction who that she beat and completely on the other side of. But as we know, in our fat, and she wasn't overweight, but everyone has fat, visceral fat, and she um had stored the toxins of the drug use in her body. Well, I was 15, right? And I was young and enjoying essential oils for the first time, and I hadn't gotten to the chapter in the book that said only distill, or not distill, only diffuse essential oils about once or twice, maybe 3 times a week for only 30 minutes. Don't overdo it. I didn't get to that chapter yet, and so of course I overdid it. And we had the distiller, which was on the right side of her body. It was uh, over in the corner, but it was just diffusing to her right. And every few hours, I'd run up and be like, okay, what do you want to smell now? And I'd put a few drops in, and every few hours, I'd run back. And this was a very small, confined space that we were in. It wasn't like a giant open concept, it was very small. And so we were constantly being bombarded with it. But her right side of her body was really getting the brunt of it. And within a matter of days, she had a complete full body acne breakout on her right side. And she began to feel very like she was hallucinating. She began to feel high. She kind of turned to me like she was staggering, and she said, I feel like I just did some drugs. And what we finally realized, because we didn't know what was going on at the time, we finally realized was that the essential oils had caused her to have like that toxic load, but also made it so her body kind of like dust in a room with no windows open, and all the dust came up. And so the toxins from when she did drugs kind of got kicked up, and now her body was having to process that and all the essential oils, and that's when I went, wow, I just thought this was safe, just throwing a few drops in the diffuser all day long. So it was amazing that even when we diffuse it in our air, we need to be really responsible, right?
Yes. Yes, especially if you have pets or children. Um, if you have pets and you have essential oils diffusing, they need to be able to have a retreat. So, in other words, we have 3 dogs and a cat. And when we diffuse essential oils in our bedroom, the door is always left open. One, because you want to have that cross breeze. And two, these animals know when they've had enough and so that they can leave the room. And and if you have a child and you have a diffuser in their nursery in their bedroom or whatever, and you just have that puppy cranking and going all night long, they can't go away. They can't leave the room. And so we always recommend that you run the diffuser for about 15 minutes in the bedroom without the child in there, turn the diffuser off, let the room air out for a good 10, 15 minutes, and then you can put the child to bed in the room. Don't put the baby to bed and then run the diffuser on the nightstand next to the crib. Of
Got it. So if I'm
course,
if
I'm a in bed baby person anyway, so I don't think they should be in a nursery and a crib in the first
right.
place. But that,
Oh, yes, absolutely. My toddler, he has his own bed now, but about 5 times a night he crawls into ours, so I know what you're talking about. The I have this big humidifier, and they used to put like eucalyptus or whatever in it, um, and just have it pump out all night long. If we had sinus infections or head colds, and so what you're saying is don't do that.
well, when you did it as a child, you weren't using straight essential oils. I doubt it. You were using a over the counter product.
Right, like Vicks Vapor Rub.
Right, right, right. Now, Vicks
Actually,
Vapor
oh,
Rub is a delight is a diluted essential oil product.
Olbas actually was my back in, the 90s, was my first favorite blend, and that Olbas, I don't know, do you know what Olbas is?
I actually just learned about that yesterday.
Yeah, Olbas. You could buy it
Mhm.
at, most health food stores, and I've always really loved it. It smells exactly like Vicks Vapor Rub, but it's the essential oil blend, and I used to put that in some boiling hot water and put my head, a towel over my head, and then breathe in the vapors. Whenever I had a cold, which back when I wasn't eating healthy and I wasn't taking supplements, I was sick all the time. But now, luckily, I haven't had to use Old Bass in a really long time because I'm now taking healthy supplements and eating healthy. So it's just amazing, the difference. But Old Bass and essential oils and colloidal silver nasal spray is what saved me back when I used to get sinus infections all the time, and upper respiratory infections is what saved me from having to get either full blown pneumonia, which I used to get before discovering more natural remedies, and also saved me from needing to be on antibiotics all the time. So there's definitely those, things you can have in your first aid kit, but I'd rather just get so healthy I don't need them in the first place.
Amen. And but the thing about essential oils is they have such an emotional and we're going to do a whole I'm we're going to do a whole podcast, probably a couple of them, just on the mental, emotional, and spiritual side of essential oils. That even if you're the most healthiest person in the world, you should use essential oils just for that part of your life as well. But back to the diffuser and in the bedroom. Now, my husband and I will rent a diffuser. We have a diffuser that has like a timer on it, and it'll run for like 15 minutes and then it shuts off for so long, then it runs for, for another few minutes. Or we have different diffusers that just run for 15 minutes and then turn off. And but we are adults. There's a big difference between having a diffuser in an adult only bedroom and having a diffuser running where there's small children.
Mm-hmm. because it's going to be many times stronger for them because they're smaller.
Exactly. So when back in the day when I'd get the Bear baby aspirin, remember the little tiny pink baby
Mm-hmm.
aspirins? So we were very careful as mothers all those years ago. This is like, dates me. This is like 33 years ago. Um, if I had a need for an aspirin, you take 2 adult size aspirin, but you would never give your baby 2 adult size aspirin. You'd go get that little tiny white bottle with the little tiny pink tablets. And if you have a little tiny baby, it has a little line through it, and you stick a little butter knife there and you break it in half, even, right? And you would dissolve it in a spoonful of water and then give it to your baby. That's what we did all those
Mm-hmm.
years ago. But I see over and over and over, and I was the guilty party of it. You put 1 drop on the bottom of my foot, and I put 1 drop on the bottom of each of my kids' feet, no matter what their age or size or whatever. And because we do forget, and the FDA doesn't like us calling essential oils medicine, but they have the same reaction in our bodies as medicines. And so we have to look at that bottle of essential oils like we used to look at that full bottle of Bear aspirin and ask ourselves, what do I have to do to that 1 drop to make it be the same as that little tiny pink baby aspirin we used to do?
Mm-hmm. I love the roll-ons. I mean, who created that? Was it you that created that for Longevity's roll-ons, that kids kit?
Yes.
I love it. I have to tell you, I love it. Love it. And at first I thought, oh, this is so hokey. That little skeptic in my mind that loves, like, that thinks more is better. Like, I want 20 drops. I don't want 1 drop diluted in a thing and then I roll it. What's that going to do? And I seriously had that thought, like, still
Oh,
out of
hey, I was right there with you. I could write the book on it.
out of everything, and I know
I did
better.
actually. What a coincidence. I did write a book on that.
And so, oh yeah, I got this, and my son says lavender now. Like, he goes, my lavender, my lavender. He's like 2 years old, and he asks for his lavender. Well, all the bottles in it are lavender, to him, right? Because he hasn't,
Right, right.
like, that's neroli. No, I'm giving you neroli, right? No, it's lavender. But oh
But
my
see, he can
gosh.
have that kit in his bedroom. You could have it in a cute little basket on his nightstand. And he actually could take all of those, roll them on however often as he wanted. And here's the thing, children have an innate wisdom in themselves usually.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just teach them to take the lid off, smell it, and put that little roll on the bottom of their foot or on their head, and they got a boo boo, because these are all safe essential oils. And because of their dilution rate, even if they accidentally got it in their eye, it would not cause any severe damage at all. And all of my grandchildren who are lucky enough to have children that parents of my children who actually do listen to me now, because, once your children leave and then they marry into another family, then lots of times everything that you taught them just goes poof out the window. And, um, but you get a crying baby in the middle of the night and they've tried everything else, they will call you and help, what do we do? The baby won't quit crying. I'm like, really? Where's that on the go children's kit I gave you at your baby shower? Oh, I don't know where we put it. Really? But my children that do actively use essential oils with their children, they allow them to have their own pre-diluted set, and they only get them out if they get hurt. My one granddaughter, I put pictures on her on Facebook all the time. If she falls and scrapes her knee, she's getting her little roller ball out and rolling it on her knee. She knows exactly what to do, how to do it, and she does not overdo it. It seems like when you make it this big mystery and you're like, these are bad and we're going to stick them up in the cupboard where you can't reach them, then they are going to stack up the boxes on the chair and climb on top of the refrigerator and get those puppies out. And so, that's why the roller bottle kit is there, is to teach your children safe aromatherapy.
Mm-hmm. There was a point in my life when I was really against guns in general, and since then I've seen so many incidences where when a family takes the kids when they're appropriate age and teaches them, like without the gun being loaded, obviously teaches them having a safe and healthy respect for them, understanding them, they're stored away in a correct way, taking all the precautions and teaching them to have that healthy fear and healthy respect for it, then the kids don't go and just shoot themselves by mistake while playing with them, because they found them. I've heard
Exactly.
I've heard that incidents where this man who taught his son at a very young age, have a safe and healthy respect but fear of them, and know how to handle them so you don't hurt yourself or others. Not to use it, but know what to do if you're around it. And he was visiting a friend, and his kid, who was 7 or 8, ran into the other bedroom with the other kid, and all of a sudden he comes running out going, Dad, he has a gun, he has a gun. And he knew what to do in that situation. His friend had found the dad's gun, not this gentleman, but the other guy, and the kid, because he was taught what to do in that situation, prevented a disaster from happening. Whereas if we're
Yeah, his dad probably just had it in a nightstand with
ex-
bullets in it.
ex-
Hello.
exactly right. So if we, what, just because I don't have guns in my house doesn't mean that guns don't exist in other houses. I
Well, we
shouldn't
got a lot at our house.
I should teach my son. I mean, as a metaphor, right?
Exactly.
Wherever someone is in their belief system around guns, right, is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. We should
Yeah.
teach the children a healthy respect and how to handle it with safety. Same with knives. I mean, I could have used this metaphor with knives. I can't wait till my son's just a little bit older. I'm going to start teaching him how to cook because I want him using a
Exactly.
real knife, as soon as possible. That way, he'll have a healthy respect, and I'll teach him how to cut safely. And I mean, we taught him how to use scissors the second he could hold things, and he uses a real fork and a knife, to eat, not a sharp knife, but he uses real utensils already, and
Right.
he uses scissors as soon as he could hold them. I don't want to raise him with a fear of these things that, some people are afraid of their kids being around, but if they're going to be around them, kids are going to be around knives, they're going to be around scissors, they're going to be around guns. We can't protect them forever. So instead, or shelter them, I should say, forever, we should teach them how to use it appropriately. Same with supplements, same with, if there's prescription drugs in the house, we need to not just hide it away, or same with alcohol. If there's alcohol in the house, we need to teach them how to have a healthy respect and understand how it's used so that they don't harm themselves. And I totally agree with you. Don't hide the essential oils away. The kid's going to find it and then maybe use it inappropriately. Instead, teach them how to use it, have a healthy respect for it. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. And like my kids, they knew how to cook by the t on cook in their own meal even. I let them use the stove when they were 4 and 5 years old, cook things, and I let them use knives when they're little. And I'm always so shocked when, like, maybe one of my relatives will get together for a family thing, and my kids are sitting here chopping everything up at the counter or whatever, and they have a 10-year-old who has never used a knife ever in their entire
Mm.
life. I'm like, wow, they're gonna so cut their finger off.
It's so true. It's so true. We need to teach them that healthy respect, and well, first we need to learn how to use them ourselves, right? So right now
Exactly,
we're learning how to use them ourselves.
exactly.
Let's go back to this understanding of homeopathy. Most of my listeners know what homeopathy is. How do talk a bit more about how you use essential oils for in a homeopathic way, and can you share any stories of success when using it to this level of dilution?
Okay, well, um, you saw it up on stage, a huge level of one little tiny drop for a huge pain level. Now that wasn't diluted, that is straight, but when you use I tell people after, a demonstration like that, I say, "Now for your everyday usage," I just want you to dilute it, put it in a roller bottle or whatever. And diluted essential oils have a time release effect. And they, you don't have to use the essential oils as often. You can use them, and it lasts longer. And I find that one diluted drop used every hour or so is far more effective, just like homeopaths of you putting 10 drops all at once. In homeopaths, it's the frequency of usage, right? That is dangerous, that you can overdo, right? In homeopaths, you just want to dilute it, and you do use it periodically, but you don't. If a baby, for Here's the difference between homeopaths and essential oils, though, the big difference. If your child swallowed an entire bottle of, let's say, pulsatilla homeopaths, you don't worry about it, right? Because they took it all at once. It's the repeated usage of pulsatilla that gives the benefit or deterrence. Now, essential oils are different in that if you did drink an entire bottle of essential oils, that would be something to be very worried about. But the positive homeopathic use of aromatherapy is that the more diluted it is, the more often you can safely apply it. And interestingly enough, you don't have to. It has this sort of time release effect by being encapsulated in this carrier. And examples of success, oh my goodness, I probably have over 7,000 examples of success of using diluted essential oils, because my husband and I, we used to do sort of like a clinical setting with essential oils for years and years, and we had lots of clients, but it just does work. I just that's how I use essential oils. And so every success we have in aromatherapy, anyone that has been taught by me or uses it in the same manner that I teach, all of their successes are with diluted essential oils. And anytime I hear of someone telling me essential oils don't work for them, I know that probably they're just like pouring it on.
Right, which is such a waste too. I mean, you dilute it, it's going to last longer, you're saving money, and it's going to work better.
Yeah. And so let's talk about money. Let's just talk about the money side. If you are someone who has, let's say they're in longevity, you're in longevity, and you have some customers and you want them to purchase essential oils and you want them to use them so that they use up that bottle and then they go buy another one so you can make more money. Well, why don't you do this instead? Why don't you make money selling them carrier oils and Dead Sea bath salts instead?
Yeah, instead of pushing something that you don't want them to, it's unethical. You don't want them to use up the essential oil in a way that's going to harm them.
Yeah,
You would rather they get, I mean, I know I would rather have all of my clients have incredible health results, and that, I mean, that in itself, that's how you truly grow an ethical business, is they get
right.
health results. It's, I have this
They're not going
faith.
to buy that second oil if they got burnt
Right.
or got sick or whatever. You may have sold them that first bottle and you may have got them to use it 20 drops 3 times a day, whatever you taught them. But you probably are not going to get a repeat customer too much. Or if you do, somewhere down the road, we are going to have liver problems. And I'd love to
Mm.
address sometime your friend who had the drug addiction, because I can tell you exactly what was going on with her.
Oh, do tell. I'm so curious.
Okay, so I've had some children that have suffered from drug addiction. And so we have created different blends specifically for them. We've not sold these to people necessarily, but my husband called it Hard Trip. And the key essential oils in a good blend to overcome drug addiction is should have rosemary and lemon and peppermint in it, specifically those three. And it might have some others, but those are the three biggies that you're going to have in there. And I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that those were some of the essential oils that you were diffusing on your friend.
Probably.
And the reason why those oils work so great for drug addiction is because they help pull out drugs, whether it's pharmaceutical drugs, on the street drugs, out of the liver and put them back into the bloodstream so that the body can flush them out. So if she's sitting there getting bombarded with those essential oils, all of those drugs are being released from her liver and, like you said, also from the fat in her body, but specifically from the liver, and it goes back into the bloodstream. And how my husband uses these oils to help people get over drug addiction is, well, first of all, we had to go down and tell my son's probation officer, because he did get in trouble with drugs, and say, we are going to be putting him on these essential oils. They are going to be pulling out the drugs out of his liver. So he is going to experience a high from them. He is going to get high because all the drugs are going to come back out of his liver and flush through his body. And so if you go do a urine test on him, he is going to show positive of drug use. But what it does is every single time they crave drugs, if they put a drop of this on the bottom of their feet, it goes through the bloodstream. It helps pull those drugs out of their liver. That goes into their bloodstream and they get a high as if they took the drug. And so we're training them, so to speak, psychologically, that they can put a drop of essential oil on the bottom of their foot and get high just as easily as they can doing the drugs. And so that's the first step we're doing, is we're trying to stop that habit of smoking that joint or shooting up or whatever, because your muscle memory, you have to break muscle memory when it comes to addictions too. And that is that hand holding that cigarette or whatever, or that hand holding that glass of alcohol. And so you want to release, you first are going to train the muscle memory to not hold that joint, to not hold that cigarette, to not hold that beer, to not hold that whatever. But still allow the body to have the high. So if you're working, or you should not be operating heavy machinery, you should not be driving if you decide to follow this program. And eventually though, the drugs are going to be less and less and less in your liver. So it just slowly weans you off the drug.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm really excited for any listener who's gonna use that. In fact, I have a few friends I'm going to introduce that to who I know are struggling with quitting one substance or another. So,
Yeah.
that
Rosemary
is.
and lemon, even just those two, rosemary and lemon.
And you said put it on the foot. Is it a specific place on the foot or the whole
Just
bottom of the
just
foot?
that. Yes, but what we've done with our sons is we would just tell them, just put this oil in your pocket. And every time you feel like doing drugs, they don't want to take their shoe off or whatever at work every time they feel like taking drugs, right? Or wherever they happen to be. So we would just say, put a little drop on the back of your hand and just smell it every time. And so you want to make a pre-diluted version of it, because if you don't, then there's going to get a little raw spot on the back of their hand. And they just put their hand up to their face and smell it deeply a few times. Or you can make them a personal inhaler. I call them sniff sticks, and you put the essential oils directly on that, and it it allows them. It has like a little wick in there. It actually looks sort of like a cigarette filter that's inside of this thing. And you put the essential oils on there, you screw the lid on. It has little holes in there for you to smell the essential oils. The little filter thing sits inside of a plastic tube, and it has a little lid that screws on. And every time that they are desiring to do the drugs, they just unscrew that lid and smell it for a few seconds, put it back on, and then they're good to go.
And what is that called?
They're called personal inhalers, and my daughter-in-law sells them at her website. We sell all those kinds of tools that you need for diluting essential oils, and her website is essential4oils.com. FOR for, not the number four,
Okay.
essential4oils.com. They cost like 50 cents, you know?
Essential4oils.com. We'll make sure that link and all the other links that Leiann King does is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Uh, that's very cool. That is very interesting to be able to have that inhaler. I was old school. When I was traveling, I'd have a little Ziploc bag and a Kleenex, and I'd put a few drops of like peppermint, for example, for uh, travel sickness. And that would just be in my car. So if I had to open up the bag and take a whiff of peppermint and then put it back if I needed it at the time,
Yeah,
that was my
that
version of the
works too.
inhaler.
Yeah, that works too.
Awesome. Very
Cotton
cool.
balls, those work too.
Oh man, I am so thrilled that you are going to come back on the show and continue to teach us, because there's so much. I'd love to do a whole show about raw foods. I'd love to do a whole show about your ideology. Now, is it ideology or ideology? I've sort of heard it said both ways.
Okay, so you have an iris. So it's iridology
Iridology. There you go. Thank you.
because
Um,
it's your eye.
got it. Yeah, I've heard people say iridology, and I'm like,
Yes,
what?
over in England, they say iridology.
Got
And I
it.
said, well, do you have an iris? No, you have an iris.
I think because I'm from Canada, that's what we call it in Canada, is
Yeah, yeah,
iridology.
yeah. Iridology. Yes. Tomato, tomato. It's all good.
Got it. Excellent. Well, I definitely want to have you back on for a whole topic, that whole topic. And what I'd love to talk a little bit about before we wrap up is cooking with essential oils. Can you give us some examples?
Yes. I have a YouTube channel that has hundreds and hundreds of examples of videos that they can watch for free. I have um, you have to go to the longevity YouTube channel first, and then you can search there. But let's just talk about it in general. We talked about how concentrated essential oils are. So taking just like a toothpick, dipping into the edge of a bottle of essential oils is the same as about like a quarter of a teaspoon of an herb, and a drop, depending on the essential oil, is anywhere between a good heaping teaspoon up to a tablespoon, depending on the herb. Like oregano, a drop is like almost a tablespoon of the fresh chopped herb. And but what the reason why I love to use essential oils in my food preparation, whether it's cooked foods or raw foods, because I have lots of cooked food recipes on that channel as well, um, is a couple of reasons. One, I love the flavor of fresh herbs, and you do not always have those available. And I like to cook spontaneously. I'm not a big, huge recipe person lots of times. I get cravings, and I live out in the country. So if I get a craving for something and I want to go to the grocery store to get fresh herbs, and it's winter time. They have little tiny packages of herbs, but they're like $3 or $4 for one of those little tiny packages, right? And if you have essential oils, you can put a drop in your recipe and it tastes exactly the same as if you put that fresh herb in there. Of course, you don't have the nice little pretty green flecks in there, but you could chop up some green onions or some kale and put it in there and pretend that you have those green flecks of that in there.
So I could put one drop of rosemary with like the sauce that I'm going to use to marinate the chicken.
Exactly. And well, if you're going to do chicken, you got to do a drop of lemon too while you're at it.
Mm, very cool. And of course, um, when you're considering using essential oils for cooking, I mean, I guess anytime you use essential oils, you want to think about where they came from. Is it organic or is it wild crafted? Meaning that it's not concentrated pesticides that you're
Exactly.
ingesting, right? So
Exactly.
what should we look for when choosing essential oils to make sure that we're not consuming concentrated pesticides?
All right. Well, let's talk about that real quick. Because there's your big oil companies, network marketing companies, all of their bottles say safe for internal usage. And longevity, for the longest time, our oils did not say that. It said do not take internally. And people would use that as an argument um, a- against the quality of our essential oils. So let's just dispel this myth right here and now. Internal usage approval by the FDA has nothing to do with the quality of something. Otherwise, McDonald's and all of your candy companies, it would be against the law for you to take those internally.
I want to see that on Mars bar. Do not take internally.
Exactly. Exactly. So, when an essential oil is approved to take internally, all that means is that that bottle had its little cap put on it in a facility that was approved by the FDA to put caps on food. It was packaged in a food approved facility. That's it. And lots of times, like for example, there's a big salt mine near where we live, and probably a lot of people know and love the brand of salt called Real Salt. And they sell food grade salt and they sell non food grade salt. And we have a friend that works there, and he said, "Do you know what the big difference is between bagging up food grade salt and non food grade salt?" And I said, "No, what's the difference?" He goes, "When I do the non food grade salt, I don't have to put this hat and these gloves on."
What do you use non-food grade salt for? Like your sidewalks?
Yeah, and bath salts or for
Oh,
animal feed.
okay. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
So,
for
oh, that's so interesting.
so first of all, it doesn't matter if your essential oils say safe for internal usage or not. Um, on whether or not really they are safe to take internally. Um, I had to quit teaching food recipes for a while because the lawyers at Longevity were worried that if someone did use them, and because it says do not take internally, that they could get in trouble legally. So I got a ban on public usage of cooking with essential oils for a whole year till we could um, set everything up so that the essential oils could be bottled in a food grade facility, even though our facility, in my opinion, far surpassed the food grade standards, and it did, but they were bottled not in a separate facility. They were bottled in a facility that other things were going on too. So it didn't matter how clean and pure and wonderful our facility was, it was not in a separate facility. So, you want to make sure that your oils are either our oils, the oils at Longevity, are organic or wild crafted, or we also have some that are ethically farmed. And what that means is you and I both know that just because a piece of produce at the farmer's market may not have the label organic, but you know that farmer and his standards, you know that piece of produce is probably superior than even the labeled organic produce at your local grocery store because there are such a big long list of safe chemicals out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we we try to have a pretty close relationship where we get our essential oils from the different distillers and suppliers. And so we do not have all of our essential oils with the certification of organic because a lot of these small time distillers like Ricky, it's cost prohibitive for him to try to get that certification on his oils. So you want to make sure that it is one of those three things. And I like to also be able to have access to gas chromatograms if I want to. Now, the average person has no idea what a gas chromatogram is and whether something on there is a safe chemical or not, because what it does is it lists all the chemicals that are in that essential oil. But if you don't know what chemicals are supposed to be in there or not supposed to be in there, that doesn't really do the average person any good. But just the fact that the company is willing to let you see a gas chromatogram, which you can request that from Longevity, and eventually we're planning on having them. Supposed to already been done, but sometimes the powers that be are slow. Um, we're supposed to be able to click on an essential oil and have access online to the gas chromatograms. This is something that I have been pushing for 3 years there to get that put on the website, but you can request them still. And so, where a lot of your other companies, if you request them, they'll just say, no, we don't provide those. And so, you want to make sure that you can request those. And then you know that basically they don't have anything to hide if they're willing to give it to you.
I love it. Now your Aromatic Living subscription, I know you do like a Q&A on a regular basis, so you could probably answer more questions about this type of analysis. But do you also break down or teach us lay folk how to understand the how do you say it?
Gas chromatogram.
Gas chromatogram, so that we know that the quality of the oil we're using is up to the right standards?
Um, there's hundreds of essential oils. If you get Dr. Wallach's book, Passport to Aromatherapy, he has, I believe, a couple of hundred essential oils in there, and he has the chemical standard for each essential oil there, the percentage that each one is, and what it should be at.
Very cool. Awesome. Well,
So, like in my school, we have two textbooks. We have actually four, but the two main aromatherapy ones is our book, Foundational Aromatherapy. And I don't have all that stuff in mine because, the title is Foundational Aromatherapy. The average mom does not give a flying flip what the percentage of L-pinene is supposed to be in frankincense. They just want to know what to do for that baby that is crying in the middle of the night. But Dr. Wallach's book goes into more of the whole scientific stuff on it.
very cool. It has been such a pleasure to have you here, Leiann, and I cannot wait for you to come back on the show. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and I feel so blessed for me and for our listeners that you want to come back and continue to teach us. We're definitely going to cover so many more subjects with you. For listeners who didn't get to hear your episode before, definitely go back in the archives and check it out. And I definitely encourage listeners to go to learntrail.com/oils and see your Aromatic Living subscription, which is only $12 a month. That is like ridiculous. Off air, I yelled at Leiann for not charging enough. I think she should be charging like $100 a month at least for what she's giving everyone access to everything. So that you can basically use herbs and essential oils in a way that is going to help you and your family. But you wanted to make it absolutely affordable for everyone. And I think that is just brilliant. And we want to have you back. When we have you back, we're also going to talk about your institute. I know that you have this amazing program for those who want to become a certified aromatherapist. I have a lot of healthcare professionals that listen to the show that I bet I just piqued their curiosity. And so we'll definitely talk about that and about why someone would want to go through that program to become a certified aromatherapist and how they can do that the next time we have you on.
Okay, sounds fun.
Yeah, awesome. Wonderful. Well, I'd love for you to leave our listeners with some homework. Give us a challenge, something that we can do to improve an area of our life and or health.
Okay, well, get it. Let's do this. Probably almost all of your listeners own some essential oils. I'm going to guess. And I'm going to guess that a lot of them are just sitting on the shelf. And some of them probably still have their little plastic seal around them and never even been opened. So my challenge to you is to actually open up some of those bottles and smell the cap and see how that makes you feel. And I really love for people to just document even. Let's give an emotional homework here. Sort of do a scan on how you're feeling emotionally, and then take that lid off, smell the cap, and see how you feel differently on emotional level. And then let's give another homework that's just health. If that oil made you feel happier, more content, excited about life, whatever, let's get some. If you don't have any carrier oil, you can always use water, or you could even use butter. And if you tell me you have margarine in your cupboard, then you should not be listening to this. And get yourself a teaspoon of either coconut oil or butter, because you should have one of those two in your house. And put a little drop of that in there and give yourself a foot massage or a hand massage and pamper yourself,
I
because
love it.
we don't all the time do that.
Yes, we need to take more time out to pamper ourselves. Thank you so much, Leiann King, for coming on the show. It's been such a pleasure having you here. Can't wait for you to come back and continue teaching us about this plethora of information that is so beneficial. And you've proven with your own life and with your family. Now, how many grandkids do you have?
Number 21 was just born. Let's see, today's Friday. Last Wednesday, so 2 days ago, he was 2 weeks old, and that's baby number 21.
Oh my gosh, you are so blessed. That's so wonderful. So your 9 kids, your husband, and 21 grandbabies, and of course all those in-laws. You've got this big family, and you've been using essential oils not only for your whole family and keeping them all healthy, but also, like you said, in a very clinical setting. You've worked with thousands of people, and you do these wonderful workshops, and I've seen you work with hundreds of people in these workshops at a time. And the fact that you're coming here to teach us is just so wonderful. So thank you so much, and I look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you.
Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Or join our membership, learntruehealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to learntruehealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to learntruehealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. learntruehealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, and you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to learntruehealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.